In today's episode, we are unlocking the magic with Bruce and Connie.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
You are listening to the Main Street Magic Podcast with your hosts, Jeremy Stein and John Marone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and while John is off testing his France slushy recipe, I am joined by Bruce and Connie from the Unlocking the Magic Podcast. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us. French slushy recipe. What's that? I want one.
I know. I just totally got sidetracked. What is that? I want one.
So John, my co-host, who we usually do the show together, he travels quite a bit during the week. So sometimes when we do these interviews, I just kind of run with him solo. But John is a huge fan of the slushies over in France, and it's something that he gets every trip. And we might have a few pictures of him holding kind of a fruity-looking pink slushie with this pinky sticking out, so we try and work that in wherever we can. And he recently got one of the margarita machines, and so he has been testing that recipe to see if we can't bring some of that Disney magic home to us. But thank you guys so much for being on the show. Wanted to learn a little bit more about you guys for any of our listeners that maybe do not listen to your show. And if they don't listen to the show, I would highly recommend it. Very entertaining, very informative. You guys are just a lot of fun to listen to, and your chemistry is so well balanced that I think that adds to so much of the entertainment. So where did your guys' Disney love come from, and what made you decide that, hey, we want to share this with everyone and start a podcast?
We have chemistry, Bruce.
I know. That's awesome.
You didn't know that, did you?
The outside looking in said that.
I know. Well, thank you for having us. We are really happy to be here. I guess I want to start by saying my love for Disney started when I was a really young girl. I was lucky enough to visit the parks when I was young, and it was a really special time for me and my family. We got a lot of one-on-one time. Bruce, on the other hand, didn't quite get that lucky childhood.
I was like one of those left behind children that never got to go to Disney when they were younger. So my Disney experiences and fun came when I started my own family. So we haven't been going to Disney. Well, we have been going to Disney as a family forever, it feels like, since our kids were really small.
Yeah.
And over the last, I'd say, 10 years, we've been going multiple times a year. And I just like the fact that when you're at Disney and you're on vacation down there, the outside world kind of goes away, right?
Yeah.
No matter what happens in your life or what problems you're going through or what's going on in your business or your work, when you're at Disney with the family, it's kind of like everything else stops and you just kind of focus on being with your family and taking it easy and enjoying yourself for however long is the opportunity that you have to stay there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, with Connie, with your kind of visits growing up as a child, was that based on geography? Were you close to Disney, or was it just a trek that your family made sure to take once or twice a year?
Yeah, no. So I grew up in New England.
Okay.
So no, we were not, unfortunately, nearby. But I do have relatives down in South Carolina, so we would often try to drive, make the drive. Yeah, that was fun memories. Make the trip down, visit them, and then if we could, we would go down to, if I was behaving, we would head down to Orlando. It was a lot of fun. I have to say, I feel bad talking about it because I know that Bruce didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I've come to terms with the fact that I was a underprivileged kid.
Well, and I grew up I grew up in Maryland, so we would take the drive, but I think we only did it 2 or 3 times when I was a child, and I was young enough that the only memories I really have are going back and looking at photo albums. So I'm kind of on your end a little bit, Bruce, but I think both you and I now are lucky that we get to do this as adults and kind of, live Disney through the eyes of our kids, which obviously sounds like you guys are doing on a regular basis, which is just awesome. So you have 3 kids?
Forget my kids, man. I live it through my own eyes. They can live it through their own eyes. I don't care what they think.
You wouldn't even take them if you didn't have to, right?
No, I'm forced to. Listen. It's expensive to take 5 people to Disney. If I could get away with going without them, I would be.
Oh, Bruce.
I love that. Yeah. So with the 3 kids, what are their ages?
16, 15, and 11.
Okay.
Wait. Wait. They're not 16, 15, and 11.
15, 14, and 10, I mean.
Oh, my goodness
That was
gracious.
close.
They have a long He was close, but...
I was round up. They're close enough.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's good. Well, in that
Yeah,
case,
but
my
that-
kids are 20 and 17 if I round way up. But, yeah, we're not quite there. So 3 kids taking them to Disney. This is what I think will be interesting about this conversation. You said you guys could get down there a couple times a year. How do you manage the parks with 3 kids of differing ages, and I would assume, different taste in the things that are going on at Disney? What does it look like when you guys get there, or prior when you're making your fast passes at 60 days? Do your kids mostly like to do the same things as each other, or is it kind of a fight on what you're going to ride, what you're going to see, maybe even what park you're going to go to on a daily basis?
How do you want to answer that, Bruce?
I think it's in the way that you raise your kids at home when you're not going to Disney. That sets the expectations for when you're going to Disney. We've always let our kids know that, listen, just because we go to Disney 3 or 4 times a year isn't something that you could take for granted. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
And whatever you get to do when we're down there, whenever you get to do it, you should enjoy it and embrace it and be grateful that you had the opportunity to do it. And we really hammer that into their heads before we go down there. So there's no fighting, right? There's a little bit of fighting, but
there's always going to be some.
It's mostly our youngest one just because she's younger than everybody else.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we just enjoy the opportunity we get to go down there. And, we understand that there's a lot to do, but our philosophy is kind of just to slow down and enjoy whatever you can, but not try to maximize every second you are there, because if you try to do that, for me at least, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's so stressful. So then, it sounds like you guys are very laid back when you go there, but are you still putting in some sort of plan or outline on the things that you kind of hope to accomplish, and then if you do them, great. If you don't, you'll just look at tackling those next time? How does that work out when you're booking ahead and at least trying to put in some sort of plan? Because, as we know, if you even thought that, hey, you wanted to eat at one particular restaurant, you do have to plan ahead. And if there's certain rides you want to do, you do have to plan ahead. How much of that are you letting control your trip compared to just getting down there and just relaxing and trying to make it not stressful?
Yeah, I think that's where it gets confusing, because I think a lot of people think our laid-back mentality, it means that we don't plan. Well, maybe Bruce doesn't plan.
That's true.
That's really the truth. But yeah, I do think you have to have some kind of outline of what you would like to accomplish. And every trip, even though we have a podcast and we do go often, I try not to take it for granted myself, and treat every trip like it's your last, and really absorb and appreciate the moment. But you do have to kind of take into consideration, like you said, where you want to eat, especially like the popular restaurants you have to have reservations for. But I try to look at the best of everything. So if we happen to not score a fast pass for one of the attractions that we love or whatever, it's not the end of it. There's so much to see and do. And honestly, the memories that my kids take away aren't necessarily, other than Flight of Passage this last trip.
Right.
Because they're still talking about that. But really, the memories they have are like dancing in line while we're waiting to get into the Carousel of Progress. Like some simple things like I would never even before think of. And so I try not to be super strict on the planning part of it.
Yeah.
But
Although we take a few different types of trips. Sometimes we'll do a last minute trip where there's no planning involved other than we're going, and we'll figure it out when we get there. And then there's other ones where we plan it out way ahead of time, and we talk as a group. All right, what's the one ride, if you got to go to this park, what's the one ride you'd want to go on? Just one, not 5 or 8. What's the one ride that you would be disappointed with if you didn't get to go on? And then we make it a plan. Like there's 5 of us. If we each pick one, those are the things we tackle. And if everything else we get to go on is like a bonus. Yeah,
well, I love that mentality and that outlook, because I think what we find now, again, we're all very fortunate. We're fortunate that my family gets to go quite often. You guys go a couple times a year, and some people are going, once a year, maybe once in a lifetime. But I think so often people get wrapped up in determining whether their vacation was a success based on the amount of things they did as opposed to the moments that they lived. And it sounds like you guys are really more wrapped up in the moments and the experience as opposed to saying, we did 20 attractions at Magic Kingdom today. Sounds like you're much more about living your life while you're there, getting away from the stress of everyday life and work, and just really getting the most out of it. I think that's such a good outlook, when you're going and planning one of these vacations, because it gets absolutely overwhelming. I'm sure you guys have friends that go to visit, and they're probably asking your opinion and, listening to your podcast and trying to figure out how they can do everything as opposed to just trying to figure out how they can enjoy it the most.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the people who ask us how they can do everything are the ones that never go back.
Yeah. Yeah, they come back and they tell you it was miserable and lines were long and it was hot and they couldn't, eat where they wanted to, and yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of our first experience because we didn't know any better, right? Back when we first, our kids were 2 and 1. There was podcasts, but they weren't like what they are today, and the internet wasn't the same. So there's way less information available. You actually had to go to the bookstore and buy a book on Disney and read paper.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, it sounds horrible. It sounds so bad.
Sounds boring.
Man.
Yeah, but now you like so much more information available, and you can look at things before you go. Like our kids look at YouTube videos of things they want to see and do to kind of experience that before we even get there. So there's so much more you could do and organize, but it doesn't have to be your calendar doesn't have to be book solid from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed.
Right. Yeah. Now with that, and you guys having a podcast, and obviously you want to be able to go down there and come back and talk about your experiences and give useful information to your listeners. How do you look at balancing the vacation versus almost the work of doing the podcast, or is it something that you guys just take mental notes of and you don't deal with while you're there? What does that look like?
We haven't figured that out yet. I think
it's a tough one.
That's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, we're working on that one. Let's see, this last trip that we did in November, that was one of the ones that I feel we had somewhat of a balance, I think because we went down during a holiday. So it kind of gave us the opportunity to kind of detach from social media or whatever and documenting every little thing and really kind of doing what we say and kind of enjoying the moment. Yeah. There is definitely a balance with that I think comes along the line with the longer you do it, maybe the longer. I mean, we haven't been doing it for too long, but long enough. I think
in the beginning of the podcast, the trips after we started the podcast, probably I'd say 6 to 9 months after the podcast started, those trips we would probably looked at differently than we do now. We try to document everything, video, and then it comes to a point where you're like, you know what am I really here for? And what is the people that join us on the show or our live show, what do they come to our podcast for? Is it for our videos, or you have to kind of figure out what you do best and
what we like.
Yeah, and what you like to do, and then share that because it comes through genuine on your podcast or your video show. If you try to do everything all at once, and it goes back to the point of the people who go to Disney and try to do everything, right? If you're a podcast like we are, and we try to go down there and record everything and make videos and do live shows and document every picture and every Instagram story or whatever it is along the way, you kind of lose sight of why you're actually there in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, and if that becomes unenjoyable, then what's the purpose of having the podcast? If it becomes something, because I can tell listening to your show and watching the live show, I mean, you guys have such a passion for doing this, and it doesn't look like it feels like work to you, and it looks like it's something that you guys really enjoy. So yeah, if you start to take that away, then I guess what would be the point of doing it,
I love doing the podcast, and I love talking about Disney, and I love going and the messages that we get, or the people who join us on our live show and kind of just hang out with us, that's what I do it for. It's, at least for me, that's the fun part. Like, I don't really want people to listen to my advice. I don't think
you say that all the time.
I don't think that I give the best advice or have the most knowledge or have the best tips. It's just kind of like our experiences, and we're a family that goes down there a lot. And if you can learn anything from what we talk about and enjoy your trip and make your trip even better, then that's what I want you to take away. Not necessarily like, you shouldn't do what I tell you to do.
Right. Well, and I think that's important because I think that's what's so great about podcasts and a podcast like yours is that you are actually speaking from experience. Anybody can go online and read the reasons why you should or shouldn't eat at a restaurant. But what does that really mean unless it's coming from a personal experience from someone? I can look up and see what Beach Club is like, but if you guys have stayed there and you offer your opinion as a family, that's something that I think is so much more, real to a listener. And I think you guys do a really good job of that. So going back to your trip, and while you're there, you've got a family of 5. when you're riding most of those rides, who's the odd man out usually? Because if you're sitting anything from Dinosaur where there's 4 seats, or you're riding Big Thunder Mountain where there's rows of 2, Bruce, are you the odd guy out, or how does that work?
No, surprisingly, I'm not. We always kind of look at Mom and be like, Mom, take one for the team, will you?
Well,
You know
I've learned, yeah.
It's that Connie is very outgoing. Like, she loves the spotlight. She loves conversation. She loves meeting new people. Like, she would literally be one of the characters on Main Street performing in Hollywood studios if you let her.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's not Main Street, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like
she loves that.
If guests are allowed to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, so she loves being that person that makes friends on every ride. It's like an ongoing joke with our family that every single time we go on a ride that there's one person out, Mom's like, great, I'm making a new friend. And she literally makes a new friend every single time.
That's awesome.
I make new friends I'm the odd one out on, most often, I'm the odd one out if we're flying. I make new friends when we fly, make new friends on the attractions. Like Bruce said, I love it. So it doesn't bother me. The only thing that's funny is that, Bruce, I really feel like all this time you should be the odd one out because you're so big and take up room.
I know, but
you make yourself uncomfortable.
It's a little bit awkward being on rides or airplanes when like you're squeezing in next to somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that feeling. Yeah. I'm about 6'3", 215. So yeah, I often get some of those looks as well, especially sitting on a plane. But so you guys are obviously flying anytime you go down, because I can't imagine what that drive would be like. What does it look like for you guys packing there when you're going for a full week, especially your last trip, which was during the holidays, and you have this family of 5? Are you looking at just taking, your absolute bare necessities, or are you kind of packing for everything? And then once you're there, do you guys do much at the resort as far as, food and drink, or are you looking at spending most of your meals out in the parks or at the resort restaurants?
I used to pack everything, and then when I realized that we never even use half of it, but I did make this little packing list that people seem to love. And so what I do normally is every time we go on vacation, I send it all out to the kids. The kids all have their own copies. And they the little one, I kind of have to go double check on because usually her suitcase is full of Barbies or whatever, or dolls and Mickey toys. But anyway, so everyone has sort of their own list, and we kind of chop into that. I think the struggle is when you visit Walt Disney World during the holidays, especially like anywhere from November, I would say, to maybe the end of February, the weather can be so challenging.
Yeah.
So that's the only issue is like I feel you have to pack, long pants, short pants, because one day you'll be in the pool and the next day you won't. You'll be wearing your jacket. So, Bruce, you don't have much to say about the packing.
No, I have nothing to say. My wardrobe is literally the same at home. It's like 2-3 pairs of shorts, 2-3 pairs of pants, and like 7 Star Wars shirts, and that's it.
Yes,
I'm done.
And then
I literally packed the night before.
So, Bruce, are you filling your suitcase with Star Wars figurines?
Sometimes. Depends on how I feel.
Okay.
Sometimes it's He-Man.
It all depends. But yeah, and for the dining, so dining is my favorite thing to do in Walt Disney World. And I love breaking it up and kind of using that as the experience as well. Not just the eating part of it, but the traveling to other resorts. Or I love eating in the parks, but I do love kind of resort hopping, if you will, and visiting other places and kind of being immersed in that story.
Yeah, I think Disney does a great job of not only immersion when it comes to the attractions or the parks, but the resorts themselves and the dining experiences are something unique to Disney, where you go to experience a restaurant and it's themed from top to bottom when you walk in the door. So that's kind of an experience in itself, and we love that. If you listen to the show, we know we love food and we love to go to restaurants and eat certain things.
Yeah. Well, so with dining then, from what I have found and talking to anyone else, basically, you either love it or hate it. Are you guys a love the dining plan or hate the dining plan?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, well, I know that. Well, I'm going to answer this for you, Bruce. I love having the dining plan when I'm with you, Bruce, because whenever we're not, so we calculated once, I think the numbers, you really don't save. I mean, it's all how you look at it.
Yeah.
But without the dining plan, Bruce can't help but look at all the menu prices and kind of second guess things. Then he becomes cranky because then he wants to choose the more bang for his buck versus the experience. And so it's stress on us and me and the kids.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bruce. Sorry, Bruce.
No, it's fine. Throw me under the bus. I'm cool with that.
So it becomes a simplicity thing more than a cost-effective thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's cost effective, really. Well, I think what it does is it takes, when you go to a restaurant and you have the dining plan, it takes away that whole 5 or 10 minutes of planning before you eat. Like, what do you get ordering? How much is that? What do we have for, how are we going to pay for that? We're going to book it to the room. You're like, you have the dining plan, you go to a restaurant, everybody picks what they want, you get it, you sit down, you're done.
Yeah.
It's another part of the vacation experience that it's like immerses you. I feel like when you have to pay out of pocket, even if it's you charge it to your room, I just feel like I guess I can't help it either. Like I may not order the lobster mac and cheese. I may order, something a little bit more simple because of that reason, and so that's the reason why I love the dining plan.
Or you may just not experience restaurants that you would experience when you have the dining plan.
Right.
Like if you,
that's true.
You may not go to Cape May Cafe buffet if you're paying out of pocket for that.
Yeah, because you're so busy looking at the price.
Yeah, or just maybe, you're like, the price is expensive. It's not everybody in our family loves seafood, so we're not going to choose that. But if you've already prepaid for your dining plan and it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, Connie takes one for the team and we go to Cape May.
And they all end up loving it and trying something new.
Yeah.
And so that's the other part of it too. It's just like this weird balance, I guess. But you're right. Some people love it, some people don't, and that's part of the show that I do love. I love hearing other people's perspective on things. It actually gets us thinking about certain things that we never even thought of before. That's all, Yeah,
it's hard. There's so many different ways to experience Disney. Do you plan ahead? Do you go last minute? Do you buy the dining plan? Do you not? What kind of resort do you stay at? How many days should you go to the park? Like, there's no one way to do it. There's so many different variations to your vacation. That's why you can go back so many times, and every time you go back, it's a new experience.
Yeah, it is. And something I talk about on our show all the time is Disney First. We go quite often. We go about once a month down because we're very close to Orlando. We're about 2 hours away, and that's just where we spend our vacation time throughout the year. And we do shorter trips as opposed to doing a week or two of vacation. We'll do weekends once a month. And every single time we go down, we make sure that there's some sort of Disney First. And that could be something as major as the first time we ever rode Flight of Passage, and it could be something really small like the first time my daughter and I sat in the front row at Rock and Roller Coaster, and making sure that you continually kind of live that magic and do something new every single time. So yeah, and I like the way that you say that, Bruce, because every family is so different that every vacation isn't going to be the same. And like you said, the dining plan works for some, it doesn't work for others. Staying at a fancy resort with a really nice pool might be good for some, and it's, others are just going to spend open to close in the park. So, one of the value resorts makes, sense for them. So for you guys, though, when you're going, what are you looking at as far as park time versus resort time? And then I guess based on that, is that really per trip making your decision for you on what resort you're going to stay at?
Yeah, so the goal for me is to always visit all 4 parks. Mm-hmm. So that's always not an issue within the family, but it doesn't always match our budget. So if we have to budget out a trip and we had just gone recently or whatever, we kind of had to make some kind of sacrifice, and usually that's one of them. But my go-to resort, and I think Bruce will agree with me, and the kids, is definitely the Polynesian. And I think the reason why is because that's our first sort of memory collectively as a family where we really all fell in love with the magic of Disney.
Yeah.
And even though I had gone there as a kid and I loved it, I didn't quite experience Disney the way I did until we not so much visited that resort and stayed at the resort, but as a whole package. So that trip was it's a very special memory to me. And so when I go there, I sort of have that sense of feeling like we're home.
Yeah.
That said, it's really expensive, and we're not DVC Club owners, members, and so that is a little tough on our budget. We've been lucky enough to visit other resorts as well, but usually I try, my go-to is, okay, let's see what we can price out for the Poly.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
Bruce?
you always try to do like a 50-50 or 60-40 between parks and resorts. So if we're going to 4 days of parks, we want to make sure that there's 3 days or 4 days at the resort.
Yeah.
Even though that's really hard for me because I really am not too much of a relaxer. Like I relax for like 20 minutes and then I want to go do something.
Yeah.
Which is thankfully I have a young daughter who's exactly like me, so we team up pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Connie always says, if we go to 4 days of park, she wants to hit the resort for at least 3 days.
Right.
There's no, and it depends too. Like why would you stay at the Polynesian or the Grand Floridian, the Contemporary for 7 days and go to 6 days of parks? You're better off staying somewhere else and saving some money.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then are you guys park hopper fans, or is that going to come down to your trip and what your plans are as well? Is it something that you do every time or only some of the time?
I am not a park hopping fan.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm not a park hopping fan is not because anything against the park hopper. It's all self-inflicted, right?
Oh my gosh. I hate the park. Yes.
Because when I'm at the park, like I told you, I can't sit still. So when I'm at the Magic Kingdom, I'm thinking about Epcot. If I have the park hopper, I'm thinking about going on something at Epcot, or maybe we could hit the Hollywood Studios. So when I do not have the park hopper, like when Connie doesn't get the park hopper, it forces me to be in the moment and enjoy whatever park we're at, because there is no opportunity for me to leave. So it makes me relax a little bit, enjoy where I am, and just kind of wander around.
Yeah. I like that.
I think that like knowing it's there is sort of makes you feel like there's something better someplace else that you must try and visit. And I know this last visit, we did have a package that came with the park hopper. I almost didn't tell Bruce, but I told him. It did work out in some ways because we were able to see a few extra things. I guess maybe because we had gone so many times within the years, which made it convenient, I guess. But when I look back, I really didn't appreciate or really take my time. Again, like what Bruce talked about, it's like if you have the park hopper, you're always thinking of the next thing. And I learned that from experience before the podcast is really what my philosophy was. And that kind of is the reason too, because you're not in the moment. And the travel time between parks is not ideal.
No, not at all.
It's not. So by the time, especially if you have a carriage or whatever, or say you have things stored in the locker, you gotta go. Even like if you think of the shortest commute between park to park, it's probably the boat between Hollywood Studios and Epcot, and even that's like 45 minutes. It's exhausting too, and that's the moment where I get really tired, and then I'm just done. Like there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, it's like eating a big lunch, right?
Yeah. That travel time is like the big lunch.
It is.
You all of a sudden get lulled to sleep, and there's nothing I can do to get into it.
Yeah, and anyway. people don't work that in a lot, especially for people that have never been to Disney World. And they're unaware of how vast and large it really, really is. I mean, you're talking it's a city. A lot of times they don't understand. All right, we have a park hopper. We're going to go and do all these parks in one day, and they don't realize to work in an hour and a half just to get from one to the other when you're depending on Disney World transportation. So that's a pretty good point on that one.
Especially if you have visited Disney World a lot of times, like you never realize how big it is even until you visit Disneyland, right? Until you can walk across the causeway to go to one park from the other without having to take any transportation. That's when you realize how far apart Animal Kingdom is from the Magic Kingdom. Epcot is from Animal Kingdom. It's just it's so huge.
Just Animal Kingdom to your car or whatever is far, just like walking.
Like my room at the Caribbean Beach Resort to the pool, like that's a hike.
Yeah,
that's a hike.
And we always have our car with us, so we'll drive to every park except for Magic Kingdom, because you can park at Magic Kingdom and you think, man, it's great. I'm here early in the morning. Park doesn't open for an hour, and you don't realize you're going to take a tram to the ticketing center, and then you're going to take either a boat or a monorail to the Magic Kingdom. Then you're going to go through security. It's just, it can take up so much time. So with obviously coming into 2018, everybody's looking forward to Toy Story Land, and everybody's looking forward to more announcements as far as Galaxy's Edge. What are some of the other things, though, that you guys are really looking forward to in 2018 and just beyond at Disney?
I'm looking forward to some changes in Epcot, because I would say that was the park, if I close my eyes, other than the Magic Kingdom, but I feel like Epcot and Magic Kingdom are the two that I have close to my heart. And I really remember being a kid and just being in Epcot and just feeling like there was just the future was going to be such an incredible place. And it the park that I feel it was very inspirational to me as a young kid, and I want to share that with my kids. I feel like that's the one thing I'm looking forward to as far as change wise.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to obviously Galaxy's Edge opening, but I'm more looking forward to Hollywood Studios kind of coming into what it's going to be moving forward. I think that
getting an identity again.
Yeah, Hollywood Studios has always been my favorite park. If you take out the year 2017,
What?
because nothing's there, right?
That's not true. You keep saying
I love Hollywood
that.
Studios. Listen, I love it. It's always my favorite park. It's always been my favorite park, but there's not a lot to do there if you've been there multiple times. Connie, me and you can argue about that all day long.
Yeah.
You know, I am.
And
I am
I'll
bummed.
argue. I'll probably side on Connie's side. I think a little bit.
Yay!
Because while I definitely agree. I mean, there's nothing compared to what there used to be. I mean, I started looking at it. You know, and even if you just start to count the rides alone, I mean, you can count them on one hand. You can count the attractions on the other. But it's one of the, I don't know why, it's one of the parks I'm drawn to the most. Like if I go down, sometimes I'll just shoot down for a day trip, or I might go down before my family comes down, because I'll wait for my wife to get the kids out of school and bring them down that evening. Somehow I always end up at Hollywood Studios, and I'm not even sure why.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite park. It's always the one that I'm drawn to the most. And I'm looking forward to figuring out what happens. Like, what is it going to look like when both those new lands open?
Yeah.
What is it going to mean for the essence and the feel of Hollywood Studios, where you walk down the boulevard and it feels like old Hollywood? Is it going to feel the same when all those new parks open and there's a ton of people there? I don't know. I'm hoping that it does, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see the tiers as far as fast passes go, because I can't imagine they can still keep the tier structure in place for fast passes when you add the two new Toy Story rides, you add the two at Galaxy's Edge. You can't put all four of those on a tier 1. So I think that'll be really interesting to see what they do there to make sure people can still enjoy everything.
And maybe that'll be the opportunity for people to be able to go on things like Toy Story Mania, where that's always a huge line, and they haven't been able to go on that, or Tower of Terror, or Rock and Roller Coaster, those are the three main attractions there now, and their lines are huge, right?
Right.
And those have been huge lines forever, it feels like. Although Tower of Terror feels like lately you can get on pretty quickly.
Yeah, it does, and it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. And what will it do to Pandora? Once Toy Story lands up, are we going to see that influx shift where people can finally go and wait for Flight of Passage, and not have to spend half the day at the park?
Right.
That'll be interesting. I hope that's true. So you guys got to experience Pandora for the first time on your last trip. What were your overall thoughts and what were the pros and cons that you felt walking into this brand new land, which is, short of the expansion to Fantasyland, which was a decent expansion, but I don't feel like it was anywhere near what they did as far as kind of stepping out of the box with Pandora. What did you guys think of it overall?
I know that I was trying to listen to Bruce and go into it with low expectations. And it's hard because when I describe it now, I don't want people to be super pumped about it because I'm afraid that I'm going to set the bar too high. But I really feel like they did an incredible job. But every time, so when we were there, it actually made me even more excited about Galaxy's Edge, actually, because I feel like there was a connection. You are on, the Pandora is a planet, an alien planet, so you kind of get that vibe. And so I just feel like the Imagineers did just an amazing job.
Yeah.
So Bruce, whatever you have to say on top of that.
Yeah, I was like, eh.
You were like, meh.
Really?
Yeah,
and just the overall.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I want to have my whole goal and key to life is low expectations.
Yeah.
You always say that.
Walking everything with low expectations.
You're never disappointed.
Think about it when you go to a movie, right? Whenever you visit a movie and you're super psyched to watch that movie, unless it's a Marvel movie.
Right.
You go in, you're like, this is going to be the best movie ever. You end up walking out of the movie theater bummed. Yeah. Right. On the opposite aspect, right? When Connie makes me go to a movie that I do not want to see and I have no desire to go watch, I leave there and I'm like, that was actually a pretty good movie. So low expectations. So I always walk in there with low expectations, and then you're pleasantly surprised, as I was with Pandora. I thought it was
but you say that it's Disney. You can't go into it and spend all this money and have the mindset of having low expectations.
Listen, if you're mentally prepared, you can.
All right. That's fine.
Yeah. So everyone who goes in should have low expectations, and they'll come out on top.
That's awful.
Expect it to be busy, expect the food to be bad, expect there to be no choices, expect it to, not be as good as you thought it was going to be. And then you're going to go in there and be so surprised.
Oh my gosh, that sounds awful.
It does sound awful.
But I think you have a good point there, because it's something else that John and I often talk about is the expectation of certain things. And that's what we try and share is expectations that we had and the way they turned out. Because if you go in, and I'm just going to bring up, and I don't know if you guys have ever stayed at Old Key West before, and it's a great resort, but if you go in just thinking it's going to be like, visiting the Florida Keys and it's going to be absolutely incredible, and you don't realize small things like it's a giant resort. So you're either going to walk a lot or you're going to be on a bus a lot. If you don't realize that something as simple as there's not elevators in a majority of the buildings there. So if you're like me who had a second floor room and I'm the one bringing up, 20 suitcases, that's something that if going into it, I think expectations can help, because you're not going to be surprised by something that's negative. But in your case, Bruce, it's even better because, if you have a low expectation for something like Pandora, I think you're only going to come out happy.
Yeah, totally. The only thing I don't have low expectations on when it comes to Disney is cleanliness and service, right?
Yeah.
Those are the expectations that I have high for, and if they're not met, I'm disappointed. But everything else is up for grabs. Like I don't know what I specifically avoided any video or any blog post or podcast or anything about Pandora. I didn't want to know about it. I wanted to go experience it for myself for the first time raw. And I was pleasantly surprised about how it looked, not only during the day, but at night. It was two totally different experiences, whether you went there during the daytime or at night. And I thought that was amazing. And there's not a lot of attractions there. There's 2 attractions in a restaurant and a shop. Right? That's really all there is. But you could spend hours there just kind of wandering around and looking at the different aspects of the park, day or night.
Yeah, and then and you're right. You could do it during the day, then come back for the night and see a very different park. So, Connie, are you the same way as far as research and trying not to know too much, or did you try and read up and find out everything you could about Pandora, or did you want to go in surprised as well?
I would say kind of a bit of both. So I didn't overly research. I kind of talked to a few people and just asked them what would be best to fast pass, what would it be better to see it during the day or the night, because I wasn't sure if we would have the ability to do it, see it for both times. But I will say I didn't go as far as looking into videos and others commenting too much about it, because I was afraid that I would I was afraid I would start judging it without even seeing it for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that.
Oh, you were afraid you're going to have high expectations, you mean?
Look at that.
I was afraid someone was going to say like something negative or whatever. It was going to bum me out, and I didn't want. I don't know. I don't think of it as expectations. I think of it more of like attitude. So if you have a good attitude,
it's hard. Right? It's hard to listen to other people's opinions. That's why, for the most part, on our show, except for once in a while, on my part, we try to any negative experience that we have, or we try not to talk about it. Yeah. Because I don't want my negative experience to reflect on your upcoming trip. I don't want you to really listen to what I have to say that I didn't like and have that affect your trip anyway, because we could be totally opposite, right? You could love the Port Orleans Riverside, and I didn't love it. And I don't want to have my opinion of it reflect your trip, because that may persuade you to do something else when you would have had a great time at Port Orleans. So we try to avoid any negative feedback, and try to look at it more of like, even if there was negative feedback, just talk about the positives and maybe not talk about that aspect of it.
Right. So do you really not like Riverside? Because that's going to break my heart.
Oh no.
Let's move on. No, I think that...
This is funny. Okay, so like I said, we're from New England, and not that that's like New Orleans at all, but it definitely had less of the sort of palm trees that we're used to seeing when we're on vacation. So we had a hard time feeling like we were on vacation there, because there was part of the theming there are these like big oak sort of trees with there's even leaves on the ground as you're walking. That's part of like the decor. So we were there were moments where we felt like we were just in our backyard, I guess.
Yeah, man, like there's leaves on the ground, right? And my worst nightmare is going out raking leaves in November. Like I really very much do not like that.
Right.
And you don't want to do it on vacation.
Yeah, so they're everywhere. But you know what? I think that we were talking about this on our show.
Yeah.
I think you should be asked questions before you pick your resort, because it's a huge expense. And it's, sometimes for some families, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like there's so many different resorts to choose from in Walt Disney World, or Disneyland for that matter. And sometimes you save for 3-4 years to go there. And if you pick the wrong resort, that's such a bummer.
Yeah. That said, well, I have to say, jump in, even though that part of it didn't feel like vacation, the mansions on the other side were amazing. Yeah. And I actually love French Quarter. Yeah. But at the time, so we're a family of 5, so we didn't want to get 2 rooms. So that was the reason why we didn't stay there at the time. But I do love that you would have, if we could have, we would have stayed at the mansions
or the French Quarter, and that would.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Okay.
So if we go back to Pandora, did you guys do both Flight of Passage and Navi River Journey?
We did not do Navi River Journey.
Okay. Well, that may lead to my next question. Knowing that you guys have the opportunity to go a couple times a year, when you don't have a fast pass and you're looking at wait times, what is your too long to standby wait time? Do you have like a cutoff number where you're saying, look, if it's over 30 minutes for any given ride and we don't have a fast pass, we're not waiting? How does that work?
I don't think Connie has a wait time limit. She'll wait for like 4 hours for Peter Pan, right?
That's what you did. That's what you did when you were young. Like, that's what I had to do when I was younger.
To. Yeah, there was no choice.
There was no choice, so.
My limit was 60 minutes. I think 60 minutes, except for Flight of Passage now. I'll probably wait longer for that. That's a phenomenal attraction, and I wait longer for that. But for the most part, the amount of times that we've gone on the rides, like for me, it's 60 minutes. I don't want to wait more than 60 minutes for any attraction, because I can either go on it on another time or do something else just as fun to me. So that's my limit. But
no, in other words, he gets hungry.
That's true. And if I could bring a snack in line, like if it's 90 minutes and I can get out halfway, go get a snack and come back, I'm game.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to put like a pop-up restaurant in the middle of the queue for Flight of Passage. Yeah. I mean, they would make a killing, or sell snacks, sodas, sell beer, something halfway through that queue, and they could even work it into the theming. Maybe bring some of the desserts and stuff from the canteen over there. Seems like that would be a no-brainer on their part.
Forget Flight of Passage. That should be on every attraction.
Yeah. Every attraction.
And they should add it as delivery service onto the app. Oh, I'm in.
They've already got the mobile. Yeah, they've got the mobile built in now.
I'm right here. You know where I'm located. My GPS is on. I already paid with my Magic Band. Just drop it off.
That's a brilliant idea.
I would wait forever on every ride if I do that.
Yeah. I know great. that is definitely a fact.
Yeah. So I want to go through before we wrap up some general questions that I try and ask all guests. And it sounds like we've already gone through what your favorite Disney World park is, and it sounds like, Connie, for you that's Epcot. And Bruce, are you still going to stick with Hollywood Studios, or do you want to pick a different one for 2017?
I'm picking a different one.
Okay.
2017, mine's Magic Kingdom. I always say this because we get asked this all the time, and mine changes based on my last trip.
Yeah. I can
say right now it's Magic Kingdom. What's yours, Con?
Mine changes. I just realized mine changes with every story I share. So if I'm thinking of Epcot, then I'm thinking of the 80s, and I'm in my neon outfit, and I'm going to see Figment, and I'm so excited. So that's my favorite park. Then, of course, you got
your Aquanet.
I got my Aquanet. I didn't use Aquanet. I was like 10 or 9. You don't use it until.
I have an older sister.
Okay. Or if I think of Magic Kingdom and Space Mountain. So it really is just like, I guess they're all my favorite parks. It's hard to just say one of them.
We'll count that. So out of all 4 parks, favorite ride?
Favorite attraction out of all 4? So Space Mountain.
Okay.
I could literally live inside Space Mountain. Like, I love it beyond words.
And Bruce, if I remember correctly from one of your episodes, you would not ride that repeatedly over and over and over again?
No, I would. I'd go on like twice.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Twice.
Yeah.
Twice is your limit.
Yeah.
He gets annoyed because the more times I ride, the more times we're there, the more excited and the younger I become. So that's really the reason why, because then I get super annoying. Yeah. I'm worse than the kids. I really am.
So Bruce, how about you? Favorite ride?
I think mine would either have to be Tower of Terror or Everest. And only Everest, not because it's a roller coaster, just because of the first time I got to take our youngest daughter on there. She was like so pumped to go on it. I don't even think she was really tall enough, to be honest with you. I think we kind of like had her stand in a little bit of a tippy toe action there.
Can't believe you're sharing that.
She got on, and I have a video of it. She was like the most pumped I've ever seen her in her life, and I remember her reactions. I was like staring at her the whole time, not even looking at the roller coaster, just because it was so fun. And I think so. That's based on memories, probably that. But like if I was to go alone, Tower of Terror is my ride.
Okay. So favorite show, which could be any of the shows such as, Festival of the Lion King, or we can even include parades and stage shows by the castle.
Oh, that's a good question. So this one's really hard for me because it's no longer there right now. It's back to, again, my childhood is the electrical parade that went by, and I was so bummed that actually the kids were bummed this time. They didn't realize. I guess I never really told them that it wasn't going to be there, and they were really looking forward to it. So at the moment, I'm on hold for another show that just spoke to me like that. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, there are many. That's the thing. You get Broadway type shows when you go to Disney, which I don't think people really understand and expect. And so, Hollywood Studios, there's no official rides there, but there are so many amazing shows that are there for you, and it's amazing.
How about you, Bruce?
Yeah, I'm not a huge show guy, if you can't tell already.
You
have to sit still for too long.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I like the fact that Indiana Jones is probably my favorite one, I think.
Yeah.
That or the
Stage
street
show?
performers on Hollywood Studios. Like, I know that's not technically a show, but just when they are out there and interacting with the audience members and kind of thinking on the fly, even though they have some sort of a script, like that's my favorite thing, just to watch them.
And it's such an unexpected entertainment. A lot of time, because you don't always know when that's just going to kind of pop up, or if you may be involved in that show right there, on Hollywood Boulevard. So how about your guys' favorite restaurant? And you can run the gamut on this. It can be quick service. It can be table service. Which would each of you choose?
Oh, this is a good one. For quick service, I'm going to say Captain Cook's, just because of the Team Tonga.
Uh-huh.
Let's shout out for Team Tonga. Sorry.
Team, by the way.
You literally try to include that whenever you can.
That's my sports team.
That's great. That's great.
Then Liberty Tree Tavern for a sit down.
Okay.
And I'm with you. I can't believe we agree, but Liberty Tree Tavern, it's so simple yet so delicious. I love it. And it's weird though, because back to being from New England, you would think that would be not a restaurant that we would love, because again, it makes you feel like you're at home, and when we are on vacation, we kind of want to break away from that.
Yeah.
But they just do it so right there that I love it. And maybe it's the magic. It's probably because it's in the Magic Kingdom. What am I saying?
Yeah, and it's all you care to enjoy. By the way, Jeremy, what does that mean? All you care to enjoy? Can you fill me in on that?
So from my understanding, and this is from growing up going to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and eating at their buffets. When they used to say all you can eat, they noticed more that people would pile up platefuls and not finish them, so they were throwing out a lot more. So at some point, somebody decided to change the terminology to all you care to enjoy, which they thought meant you would only actually put stuff on your plate that you plan to eat. And I don't know if any of that's true or official, but it's kind of something I've just heard in the past. I'm not 100% sure. And if you don't enjoy everything, then do you care, or how does that work?
Right. Like what happens?
So I was right. They literally do it to trick you.
Yes.
They don't trick you. They know you're coming.
Yeah. Well, and we know Disney has all these little things that they can do to kind of control you in the way that they want, and I think that's just one of them. I have a friend that lives in Boston, and we went up 2 years ago when he was in grad school at Boston College, and we went to a sushi place, and I thought this was brilliant. So it was all you can eat sushi at one price, but there wasn't a buffet set up. You actually ordered from the waitress off of their menu and said, "This is what I want you to bring out." And their deal was, if you did not finish everything that they made and brought out to you, they charged you above and beyond the all-you-can-eat price for whatever you didn't eat. So if you left an entire roll, they charged you basically their market price on that roll on top of your all-you-can-eat.
Oh my goodness!
So can you imagine if they did that at Disney? Like, either it would just be billions and billions more, to their net profit, or people would actually watch how much they're taking. I'm not sure which way it would go.
I'm pretty sure mine would be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, yours.
'Cause I
would.
enjoy a lot.
Yeah.
That's true.
No,
Yeah.
that's true. Because I was confused about that. You always never know if it's buffet or if it's all you can eat or what you should do. But now I know.
Yeah, I'll have to look up and see if that's actually true. But I think that's what I've taken away from it. So we know.
Well, it
Polly,
sounds good. So let's just go with that.
okay, we'll stick with that. That's official word.
Yep.
So I know Polly would be your number one choice for a resort. So we'll just say, what would be your second favorite resort if Polly, you could not pick Polly? Which would you each choose?
Ooh, this is a good question.
That is a good question because there are so many, and it depends, I guess, on what we're in the mood for, too. Obviously, there's budget. That always has to be a factor, depending on, how on board the kids are with eating PB&J for the next 6 months solid. That's a good one. Bruce, what do you think?
I'm going to have to say...
Are you going to say...
What?
I'm guessing that you're going to say Caribbean Beach, but...
No, I think I'm going to go with the boardwalk.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I like the atmosphere of the boardwalk. I'm throwing you off to a loop here, Connie.
Well, it's another deluxe category. I didn't know you had the means.
Listen, you got to hustle, man.
We'll say no budget, or there's no limit to your budget. This is a giveaway trip that somebody handed you. Then where are you staying, other than Polly?
I'm saying the boardwalk.
You're staying at the board. The boardwalk does have that vibe that is surprising. Other than I know that we've had some comments about the pool itself being a clown pool, which is
scary.
kind of funny.
Pennywise.
Yeah,
I feel like that. I like the clown pool because it makes people not really go there a lot.
Yeah, it's never busy.
Keeps the crowd level down. Most people are afraid of clowns.
Yeah, and that atmosphere is incredible as you walk down in kind of that central grass area. Out from the lobby in the hotel, and you're right there on the boardwalk with all the restaurants and bars and entertainment. I can see that.
Yeah, and as good a location as the beach and yacht club have, the boardwalk has a better one, right? It's right in the middle of all of the boardwalk activities. You can literally walk down the stairs, watch the movie, or see the street performers, or go to the shop or the bakery, and it's close to the side entrance. So all that would be nice.
You love the side entrance.
I love it.
So I would say if there's no budget, and I would say the contemporary, but it has to be, the contemporary. Right? I think so. I'm going to answer.
It's up to you. It's up to you. Yeah. This is your
Bruce.
answer only.
Yes.
I'm asking Bruce. Bruce, what do you think? What do you think my answer should be? Contemporary? Do you think I'm going to be okay with that?
Hold on. Let me think about where my third choice would be, and then I'll tell you.
Just let me know, because
contemporary is good.
Yeah. Ultimately, as long as you stick me in Disney, I think I'd be okay, even in like the campgrounds or a campsite tenting out there. I mean,
I've
always wanted to go to the campgrounds.
So the campgrounds are incredible. So we have tent camped there. When we had, our oldest, I think she might have been. It was her first trip ever. I think she was 18 months, and we camped there. We about 5 or 6 years ago bought a pop-up camper. So we do about once or twice a year at Fort Wilderness. So I'm actually heading down next Wednesday. I'll be there for 5 nights. My wife and the kids are only coming for 3 nights. So I'll have 48 hours full, basically, in a camper at Fort Wilderness by myself. So I'm not sure if that's going to go well or poorly to give me that much freedom, but I'll make sure I report back on that. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. That's the one resort that truly, there's so much to do, and the overall vibe of that resort is it's so much fun. Yeah, it's like that simple things, but fun.
Whether you're coming through the front gate at check-in or you're bringing a boat over, from just say Wilderness Lodge or Magic Kingdom, as soon as you get in there and it's got that music playing and it's kind of got that banjo background and there is just a feel about it. And it's something I recommend for people if they're staying at another resort and they have half a day to go over there and spend the day there, because there really is a lot to do. Okay, so Disney World or Disneyland?
Ooh, so we just experienced Disneyland for the first time last year, and I loved it more than I ever dreamed of. It was hard not to have high expectations, but it's an amazing park. It's super nostalgic. But of course, Walt Disney World is just amazing. So I'm going to say Walt Disney World.
And Bruce, you had no expectations for Disneyland, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
no,
perfect.
I have no expectations for anything. I am choosing Disneyland.
Yeah?
I love it. Listen, as much as I love Walt Disney World, we do a whole podcast mainly about Walt Disney World. The thing that I love about Disney itself is I love Walt's story, his entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love the history of the park. And where else, if you love all of that and everything that Disney has history-wise, like Disneyland has it all. It's the original park. It's where Walt walked. There's attractions that he thought up and he had his hands on. And it's just so special to me. And it's way smaller. It's way more intimate. It's a little bit more crowded, but it feels like home, right?
A little more crowded. It's hard. I think the one thing about that park too is that although it's an extremely amazing park and it's fun to experience, I think if you're coming from Walt Disney World and visiting Disneyland for the first time, it's incredible how fast that park can get so overcrowded and you literally cannot walk.
Yeah,
I think
it's
there's
a
a
fraction
balance
of the
there
size
too, right?
too.
Like we go to Disney World often. If we didn't live in California close to Disneyland, I don't think that we would go to Disneyland 4 or 5 times a year. We would probably go to Disney World.
Yeah.
So that once or twice you get to go to Disneyland and experience everything that Disney World has to offer just in a smaller scale in the original versions is just, to me, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to compare the two for sure.
Yeah, I look forward to experiencing it sometime. That's certainly on my Disney bucket list. So I got one more for you, and that is New England Patriots or Jacksonville Jaguars? Not even a question, is it?
I'm gonna pass from answering this question because I feel bad.
Yeah. Wait, I was passing. You can't do that. I was gonna pass.
Well,
listen. It's
so funny. It's so different down here right now because I'm about 30 minutes south of Jacksonville, and when I first moved to Florida, I spent 8 years in Jacksonville. So nobody who's been here for that amount of time knows what this is like. So it's so interesting just to kind of see it. And while Jacksonville is a huge, huge city as far as area-wise, it has a very small feel when it comes to the football team finally doing what they're supposed to have done for the past 10 years.
And I remember being like, I know that the Patriots have been successful for a while, but I remember being a little kid in 1985 when the Bears crushed us. Yeah. And we were horrible for all those years. So I do not feel bad that the Patriots are awesome right now.
You do not. You're like reliving your childhood.
No, I remember there was a long time where the Patriots were the laughingstock of football for a long time.
It's true.
So
it's true.
And I've got my friend in Boston who's been a Patriots fan, his whole life, and then I'm a huge Duke basketball fan, and so I think I can understand if you look at anybody this weekend who is cheering for the Jaguars, it's not because they want the Jaguars to win, it's just because they want the Patriots to lose. And so I'm up against that constantly being a Duke basketball fan because everybody wants them to lose because they've historically been so good, and it comes down to the same thing with the Patriots. People want to see them fail because they've been so good, which is something I've always found kind of fascinating. And I'm not sure that's the outlook people should have on life, but I think that's kind of just common in the way that people feel is to always kind of hope for that underdog. But I cannot thank you guys enough for coming on. Please share a little bit more about Unlocking the Magic, where people can find you, and just give us a quick, that elevator pitch of the show in ways that people can listen.
Bruce, you're up.
All right, I'm up. Here we go. Unlocking the Magic.
Connie knows nothing.
Yes. UnlockingTheMagic.com is our website. You can just find everything over there. Just if you want to have a little bit of Disney fun, we're not a tips and tricks show, so we're just going to talk about our experience and give you a little history of the Disney. We do a lot of unlocking episodes where we kind of go into the history of certain attractions or parks or resorts, and that's kind of our philosophy of the show. So if you want to join us, just head over to UnlockingTheMagic.com. And Jeremy, thank you for having us on the show. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on. We will keep in touch, and I look forward to following along with your guys' adventures. That's all I got for now, so we'll see you real soon.